Okay, guys. Good walkthrough just now. As far as the injury report's concerned, Davis Allen will be limited with the knee, but he's making great progress. Rob Havenstein, it'll be kind of a veteran rest day for him, but his ankle's a little sore. Expect him to be ready to go tomorrow. Kevin Dotson will not participate with his ankle. Steve Avila will not participate with his ankle. Davante Adams will have a rest day, and then Colby Parkinson will not participate with his shoulder. So, that being said, you guys go ahead.
With Steve and Kevin, is there any still hope that they can be there for Sunday?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
After the game Sunday, you said you guys learned a lot. What for you stood out the most, good or bad?
I think the biggest thing that stood out was being able to handle adversity, stay steady in the moment. I thought our defense did an outstanding job of playing really well, and even having to respond when they made some plays or really, we helped extend that drive, but then Landman and then obviously Fisk come up with a critical play. Even overcoming some things. You don't want to start a 4-minute on a 1st and 20, but then to be able to find a way. So I just like the mental toughness, the resilience of this group. I never felt, in spite of some frustrating things that occurred, which is inevitable in football, that those guys flinched. And that's what I would have thought would have occurred, but it was cool to be able to see us in real time with our team, get one experience. And now, how can we build from week 1 to week 2? I think there was a lot of things that, when you look at the fundamentals and the techniques specific to what you can't simulate, when you don't play in the preseason, you don't play tackle football, shedding blocks, being able to, stay connected, blitz pickups, all the different types of things, tackling in terms of working with the other 10 guys, all those things I think we can even improve upon going from week 1 to week 2. And that's what the best teams do. They continue to improve throughout, and then hopefully we're able to get some of these guys back. And if not, then, other guys have to be able to step up and do their thing.
Beaux Limmer, played center last year and then played both left and right guard. What about his game, makes you confident that he's able to hold up in all those spots? And how difficult is it to make that switch in the middle of a game?
Yeah, I think, you give Beaux a ton of credit. He came in last year and ended up basically playing the whole year as a center and gets thrust into action in game 1 against Detroit and does a really good job. And, as a young guy, he's physical, he's sturdy in the run game. I think he's continuing to improve in protection. He has a big picture ownership because of what we put on the center, but then you bring Coleman into the mix, and then you got the ability to be able to play both guards and play the center position. And so for him to play as many snaps as he did, both playing left and the right guard, he did a really good job. Proud of Beaux. But that versatility, I think if you're not one of those starting 5, the more value that you can bring relative to playing all those other spots, and especially if you are a backup center that can also be a flex guard on either side, man, that's a real benefit for us. No different than you'd like your third tackle to be able to play the right or the left side. And so I was really pleased with Beau's ability to be able to adjust and adapt. And then I think it's a tremendous credit to Steve to be able to come in when K-Dot went down to come back in the game. Otherwise, Big Warren McClendon might have been playing guard for us. And so, but I mean, shoot, I thought, that's another thing, to the question earlier, guys had to step up. We had to be ready to be flexible and adjust. And, and that's kind of par for the course.
Landman was just named the Defensive Player of the Week. So in addition to the punch-out, what impressed you most about just the way he was able to fit the defense?
I think just the command, the communication, obviously the productivity. When he has 10 tackles, and then he obviously makes a huge play, but there's so many different things, especially when you're the green dot guy and you're communicating, you're making front adjustments, you're communicating to the back end on certain things. This guy is an extension of the coaches, and he came in and, earned the respect of his teammates by the way that he just went to work every single day. He's really got a lot of love in the locker room that's been earned, and he just kind of has a great way of being able to seamlessly fit in. He has a great feel for the right time and the right tone to be able to kind of inject his leadership, if you will. But I thought he was really productive. He was all over the field, and he did an excellent job, especially when you're going against an offense that you really don't have any inventory. Played rules ball, had great command, and, happy for him. He was. We were excited for him to earn NFC Defensive Player of the Week.
I know a lot of this is dictated by what Matthew sees during the game and on the field, but what's the challenge for you in terms of blending Puka and Davante and kind of spreading the ball between them?
Well, I think you want to get them both involved. When the ball's in their hands, good things happen, and that's reflected in a variety of ways, and a lot of it is predicated on, what are the coverages, what are the structures you anticipate. There's certain ways to be able to get them the football, and I think there was some good opportunities. Davante ends up having 4 big catches that we had to have all of them, and then he draws 2 penalties as well. And then Puka ends up having 10 catches. All of those were really important, and so those 2 guys are going to be big, important weapons for us, in addition to the other eligibles. And so you want to be able to get those guys involved, but it was I thought it was a good start, and then I think it'll also be a little bit more seamless, not just those 2, but just the offense as a whole. If you're able to be a little bit more efficient on some early downs, we had some penalties that put us behind the sticks, and when we didn't do that, good things happened. But man, I'm excited about being able to learn, and it's a good thing to be able to figure out how to get those guys involved.
Some of the work Josh did on the kickoffs.
Yeah.
It's obviously a role he didn't fill last year, but it also feels like a completely different kick than he's attempted. What was kind of that process during camp of evolving what that kick was going to look like and how he grew?
No doubt. I mean, once the rule ended up going through where it was going to be the touchbacks go on the 35 unless you punch it in, where it lands into the landing zone and then it puts on the 20 like he did 2 out of those 3. Coach Kotwika and Coach Blackburn did a great job of really starting to think about what's the best ways. And both Ethan and Josh have worked on that. And obviously Josh did an excellent job. He landed the one just inside the 20 on the second one that they actually returned where Dolak made the tackle. But, I think those guys would be better equipped. But there's been a lot of intentional work of understanding, all right, how do we want to hit it? Where do we want to hit it? Do they have 2 returners back? Do they have 1 returner back? Where are those sweet spots? And I thought, for the first time that we did it in live action, it was 3 excellent executions. I think that's going to be a big play that you want to make sure that you're intentional about acknowledging the importance of it. And we were, 10 yards ahead of them in terms of the starting field position off of that play. We were at the 31, they were at the 21, and a tremendous amount of credit goes to Josh and his ability to hit those the way that he did. And then the one that we did have to cover, he does a great job of landing it in the landing zone. They don't field it clean right away, and then it gives us a chance to be able to, win some of those individual matchups, and Dolak makes a tackle inside the 25.
Is there a moment or play in practice that you think back to the last 2.5 years that stands out to you?
Where do you want me to start? How long do you want me to be up here? I just think, overall, I mean, you look at it, one of his first catches of his career, he catches a little run alert at Seattle a few years ago on 2nd and 17 and takes it down inside the 3-yard line. And so you start realizing, like, all right, like what Matthew said in the post game the other day, when you play real football, this is when this guy shines at his brightest. And one of my buddies texted me the other day. He said, Nacua must mix his oatmeal with cement. And I thought that was a pretty appropriate way of just going into how tough he is. But he loves it. He loves the game. He loves, obviously, being able to make plays with the ball. But if you watch how excited this guy gets when he makes a big block to be able to spring Kyron when he's digging out a safety or making those plays. And, I mean, you look no further than the 3rd and 8 is set up because he'll stick his face on Petrie on the previous 2 plays. So he's a stud. And, I think he continues to represent why he is so mentally and physically tough. Seen is better than said, and he shows it on a daily basis.
Have you seen him change his body at all in the last few years to better protect himself for some?
Well, I think he's gotten a good routine. I think, developing into, whether it's your diet, your off-season plan, controlling what you can. I mean, it's cool even just listening to him to pick guys' brains, whether that's Cooper or Davante. He spends a lot of time on the Versa, and so I think his body comp has definitely changed because he's eating better. He's also doing a great job of understanding what are the supplementary things that I can do, or auxiliary things, if you will, that allow him to keep his body as fresh as possible, knowing the way that he plays this game. And so that's an important thing, and he's I definitely think he's improved on those areas. Just like anything else, when you're intentional about things, good things are going to happen when you apply the right process, and he's continuing to mature as a man, which is cool to see as well.
Some of the routes that he ran on Sunday just seem so precise in the angles.
Talking about Puka?
Yeah, it's the angles he's taking, especially like that seam route.
Yeah.
Like, where is he at entering year 3 in terms of his ability to read and manipulate defensive coverage?
Yeah, he's got great understanding. He's so smart, and he understands the intent of what we're trying to get done. He catches 2 seams. One of them was where they kind of just, ended up, zoning it off, and he's just vertical up the inside edge of the numbers, and Matthew does a great job of being able to get it up and down before Bullock can get over the top as a post player. And then on the other one, Gardner Johnson, who's a great player, he's supposed to be carrying him vertical, and he kind of sticks him and sets him, thinking that he's going to break, and he ends up, being opened up vertically when they ended up, zoning it off the other side, and the safeties cheated way up top to Davante. And so that was, really good understanding where he catches two seams. It might have been the same coverage, but the way they played that coverage to his side, the first one was different than the second. He understands it, and those ended up being two huge plays. That was a damn good throw by Matthew, too, with the guy free in his face, wasn't it? That was cool. But he's just continuing to understand the intent at him, and he can do a lot of really cool things because, when his brain matches up with what he can physically do, it's a fun thing to see.
After the game, how in command Matthew was. When you watched it back, what were some of the ways that stood out to you?
Well, I think, even those two plays that I just alluded to, I mean, those seams getting up and down, the way that he's able to play with the timing and rhythm, some dirty pockets. I thought third downs, his timing, his execution, even like a lot of people that play to end the game where you're going a tight zone fake, you reverse over your opposite shoulder, you got to turn up inside a Hunter and deliver a ball that's running away from you. I mean, that's a sneaky, unbelievable throw that he makes. And then the throw, I mean, you look at, the throw that he made to Davante on the sideline on the third down that ended up going for a big gain. I mean, look at when he lets that go. And that's against one of the premier corners in this league. And that throw and that route is one of those deals where you say that's great competitive play on both sides. And it ended up in our favor because the throw and the route's just too good and the timing. But he was awesome. That's kind of been consistent for him. And then I thought he made really good decisions. I thought he saw coverage really well. There was a couple times where it's a dirty pocket and, we end up, taking a negative right there. I thought I put him in a bad spot on the 3rd and 4 where it knocked us out of field goal range back to the 39 to get us to a 4th and 10. But he continues to just show great ownership, great mastery of what we're trying to get done. And that's against an excellent defense, too. So I think, that can't be minimized as well. And it's a pretty good recovery when we ended up dropping the snap. Thank God that bounced right back to him, too. So it was good.
What's the thought process like regarding Jordan Whittington's usage?
Yeah, in terms of, are you saying just in general? Yeah, I think, he's a versatile player. He's going to be a factor for us, and that's not exclusive to offense. That's, on special teams as well. I mean, he's a 74-yard kick return called back. He's a guy that plays gunner on the punt team. He's so valuable and versatile for us, and he can do so many different things. So he can play all 3 receiver spots. Poor guy had about 100 yards of offense, ended up calling back, a 74-yard return and then a 30-plus yard catch. But he's just so valuable to us. He can do so many different things, and we certainly are grateful for him. Okay? Thanks, guys.
Before completely turning the page from week 1, just what did you make of the environment and atmosphere inside SoFi from the home crowd last week?
I thought it was great. It's awesome to go in there, and I know our defense was feeding off that juice, that they were bringing, on that side of the ball, and then it was great for us when we were out there and being able to go on our cadence and do all the things that you'd love to do at home. So it's great to have a big crowd. Obviously, opening day was great, and nice to, give them something to cheer for and get a win.
How was your recovery from week 1, and can you take us through the no-look pass to Puka?
Recovery feel good. You don't get hit for a long time at quarterback. We wear this thing luckily every day in practice, so Jared Verse knows not to hit me. But so it is like, just getting back used to feeling that, but I feel good and ready to go. Full week of practice hopefully, and just go play again. So excited that I feel good there. As far as the seam ball to Puka, I just was in the moment. Knew I needed to try and create a little bit of a window for him there. The backside safety was cheating his 60-40 spot away from the carry side and was able to, keep him there. And then when I popped back to it, the strong hook player was kind of hanging there. So just tried to move him a little bit, give Puka some room to the inside and throw one in there. He ran a great route, got open in separation and all that, made a great catch. So.
When you make that kind of a throw, I know you're in the moment in the game, next play, but is there anything inside of you? Do you have any kind of internal reaction when that kind of pass is completed?
No, I'm just excited that we got it down there. I never know if anybody will notice any of the little stuff, but that's part of it. Kyron was excited on that one. He came up to me afterwards. He's like, "How do you do that?" Which was cool. But no, it's fun. Obviously, caught the snap, wasn't thinking it, and just in the moment, feeling it and going to play.
Talked on Sunday about Puka's toughness. Do you remember the first time, either in practice or his rookie season, where you realized what a tough football player he is?
I don't know if there's one moment, but I know once we put the football pads on, you go through spring, his rookie year, and it's, we're running around in this stuff, and you can feel it a little bit just bouncing off of guys and that kind of stuff. But then you put the pads on and you go, whoa, this is a physical football player that happens to play receiver. So I think early on you could feel it and notice it, whether that was blocking for guys in the run game or after the catch at the top of a route. However it showed up, it was very evident.
Was it meaningful for you that the ball that got you across 60,000 went to Puka?
Why was it what?
Meaningful to you?
Oh, I just I've had a lot of good moments with him, and just excited that I'll always remember that I threw it to him, and it was a cool moment. I wasn't really thinking about it. It popped up, on the jumbotron and on the Oculus, I believe we call it. Yeah. Or whatever it is. But I saw that and was just kind of standing by and was like, oh, it was cool. I didn't even know at that moment until they replayed the actual play that was the one that did it. But just good memories with him. Obviously, he had a big-time rookie year that I was a part of for most of it. So just happy to do it with somebody that I'll remember.
But when you talk about the route that he ran on that seam ball, it seemed like some of the routes are just so precise in the way he's trying to manipulate coverage. Like, where do you feel like he is even now compared to where he was at the start of last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think just understanding and experience, that goes a long way no matter what position you're playing. And if you're in tune enough and willing to, take in those that experience and use it to your advantage, then the better off you are. He also has a guy in his room, in Davante Adams, who is, just the king of route running in a lot of ways. And you watch him, the way he gets open is special. But I think what's cool about Puka and really Davante and all the guys that we have is you realize that each one of those guys has an individual skill set to get open. How Puka gets open may not look the same as it does to Davante, may not look the same as it does to Tutu, but they can all talk to each other and bounce ideas and say, hey, let me try this. This doesn't work for me, or it does. And that's the cool thing about that room and their coaches and everybody in that room, and they do a great job of, just talking about the wide receiver position and using skills, whether that's physicality or quickness or suddenness, whatever it is, to try and get open.
Explained it post-game, it sounded like he didn't realize in the moment that he was on the receiving end of the milestone completion.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that interaction besides what you just said?
I think I went up to him and was like, hey, man, glad that one, went to you. And he's like, yeah, sure. I don't think he really knew. And I frankly, like I'm saying, we're so in the middle of the moment. I just happened to be looking up and saw that was the play. But, it was just classic Puka stuff. So.
I know getting hit as a receiver and a quarterback is very different, but at what point in your career, if you have, did you realize, like, maybe I don't want to go toward the contact and I need to protect my body a little bit more?
You got to stand in there and do your job, at least for my position. For guys on the outside, there's a fine line, right, of getting every yard you can get, but also understanding if there's opportunities to try and protect yourself, to go for it. But it's tough to turn that switch off, to be honest with you. You're out there, our nervous systems are going crazy. We're fight or flight. It's hit or be hit, and so that's the way everybody that I know that's successful at this game plays. And you got to understand, that's part of it. I understand to the person sitting on their couch at home, probably like, man, why don't you just get down and run out of bounds or do this? And it's like, well, the last 3 hours I've been doing it the other way, and you got to, go to that mental place to kind of get there. So I understand the confliction a little bit on how do you protect yourself, how do you not.
What are your impressions of Tennessee and Jefferson? Tennessee, what are your impressions of Titans and Jefferson?
No, they're a really physical defense. He's obviously an unbelievable player inside. Does a hell of a job for him. He's really disruptive, strong, gets off on the count, physical, fast, plays with a nasty streak. He's a really good player. They've got a lot of good players on their defense. I think they're really sound. They give you multiple looks, especially in the back end, a bunch of different looks, and you got to go out there and trust what your eyes see. Go out there and play ball, get through progressions, and that's what they want you to do, and try to collapse the pocket while they're doing that. So really good defense, physical, fast, just a bunch of different things to look at on the back end, and it'll be a big challenge for us.
You and Davante ended up being quite a bit more productive in the second half than the first. Was that a situation where you could just feel the connection growing a little bit, or what do you feel like kind of opened that up by the second half?
I think it was just ops. I think we just hit some of the ops that we had. I think it's as we go into every game, we're trying to call a balanced game. run the ball, throw the ball, spread the ball out, do all those kind of things. And, I think he just had some opportunities that presented themselves in the second half. I was able to give him some catchable passes, and he did a really nice job of hauling them in. So I don't think nothing was said, nothing was talked about. We just continue to play the game and understand that it's not always going to be perfect through 4 quarters. You want it to be, and you're striving for it, but if it's not early on, doesn't mean it can't be later, and we just continue to work. And that's, a testament to him just being a pro and been around it for a long time and understanding that, hey, opportunities are going to come, and when they did, he made his plays, which was awesome.
What did you think about the job Beaux Limmer did bouncing back and forth?
Yeah, that's great. I've never played offensive line. I can't imagine switching stances that many times and having to go from left to right and doing all that kind of stuff. So that's why he's on our team. He's a really valuable player for us, can play all 3 interior positions. Played 2 of them in the game and did a hell of a job, so we're happy to have him.
Sean was taking us through the pass to Davante along the sideline, the timing necessary on your part, kind of the savvy on his part.
Yeah.
Can you kind of take us through that and how you would evaluate, maybe expand a little bit on the first game playing with him?
Yeah, that was a good one. It was a good shot, good catch, awesome. We've had a couple of those chances out here, but not a million of them. I know he's really good at that kind of stuff just from playing against him and watching him do it and torment my team back in the day. So, I know he's got that. And, I've played a long time. He's played a long time. I understand that that's an opportunity. Stingley's a really good corner, and the safety was over the top, so I didn't feel like there was opportunity to throw it down the field. But he made a great play. As far as playing first game action with him, it was awesome. It was just fun for me to be back out there with the guys, to be honest with you. I imagine that, our experience together will continue to grow and we'll continue to get better and better. Thanks.
A pit bull, really. I mean, it's hard to stop a pit bull once you get going, and that's clearly what you get from somebody like Puka. I mean, he took a few different shots in that game and bounced up when he got stitches, got patched up, and came back out and kept killing them. So that's what I remember before I got here, and then obviously getting here and getting an up close and personal look at him, it's been confirmed. He's a dog. Like which?
Like when you take
just any?
those hard hits in the middle of the field. But what have you learned about how to protect yourself the best you can?
Yeah, well, I think, you always want to protect yourself as much as you can. Anytime a ball is thrown to you, we got a saying in the receiver room: you can't live forever. So sometimes you got to go across the middle and make that play. You can't just let a ball soar past your eyes just because you're in harm's way. It sounds kind of crazy, but that's what you sign up for when you want to be a receiver in this league. Windows close quick, and sometimes those defenders miss as well. So sometimes you might have one where I think it was the Minnesota or whatever, Miracle, whatever, when Diggs could have got flipped on that play and then he missed and turned it into one of the most memorable plays for that organization. So kind of just depends on the situation, but you kind of just have to be fearless in a way and protect yourself if you can. You can get your hands on the balls and cover up as much as you can. Sometimes it's going to be bang bang and you'll get hit, and it's not the prettiest, but that's kind of what comes with it.
You kind of took a pretty big hit on that first catch.
Which one?
You've been through this is that kind of, I don't want to say a good way to start the season, but
there's something to that. I don't know if I'll get hit harder than that this year. Hopefully not. So to set the tone like that on the first one and be able to pop up, I never want to get hit like that, but anytime you can get hit that way, still hold on to the ball, obviously convert on third down, and it's demoralizing to the defense. They want to get up and celebrate, but then when the dude pops right up like that, it can take the wind out of their sail a little bit. So, I hope it doesn't happen again, but, anytime you can get one of those out the way and, you get up and you're fine, and it's all right.
Upon review of your first game, I know we talked with you right after it, but with going back and looking at film and evaluating how you did, what do you come out with?
I think when you look at the tape, there was a lot of good stuff there. We obviously didn't get to light up the stat sheet how we can, but we meaning myself and my own contribution. It's just hard to talk about and use that, but But you'll have games like, where Puka goes out there and has 130 and misses however much time throughout the game and still can go out there and light it up like that. I'm just concerned about winning, at the end of the day. I know my fantasy owners are not too excited about it when it happens like that, but unfortunately that's not in the forefront of my mind. I know they think it is, but I'm just out here trying to win games and contribute and make plays when I can, and obviously trying to make the most plays that, with all the opportunities that I'm going to be given. And certain times, if they want to cheat coverage and, have Stingley follow me or whatever it is, then Puka and the rest of the gang will be able to be given more opportunities. And I'm sure, I'm sure there'll be times where he's lighting it up and they say, all right, let's try to tilt over there. Maybe we'll stop that, see if that works, and then I'll be one-on-one and have a lot more opportunities as well. So it's a long season, and I think everybody here knows that.
Sean talked in the offseason about wanting to create a more versatile offense here, and we saw 42%, I think, 12 personnel on Sunday. How does the diversity of personnel groupings put pressure on an opposing defense?
Well, I mean, it can limit you, but depending on the type of roster you have, where we have tight ends that can, go and make plays in the pass game as well. So, keeps base on the field a lot of times where we'll go out there, and then I'd love to see, 8-9 or even DA go out there and be able to make a play on a guy that's not suited to be able to cover him, with a backer or something like that. That's a matchup that we love. So, different ways. Obviously, we got millions of different ways we can attack defenses, but it just allows us to kind of keep them honest, still be able to pass the ball, opens up our play action game, obviously, makes it a little bit more believable, and then certain times where it's got to have it, third downs, third and longs, mediums, or whatever. We can obviously attack them in 11 personnel, just as quickly. So you got those tools. You can kind of lean on whatever it is that you need at the time, and it's just thank God that we got a multitude of guys in different positions that can do different things.
You had the back shoulder ball that Sean McVay said he was just a big fan of, watching it back on film. Just what do you remember about just what made that play happen? Is there anything you noticed out of your quarterback too?
Yeah, I mean, my quarterback made that play. I mean, I obviously holding the line. There's different, key things that come in my position there. But I think everything that made that play was the timing and accuracy of that ball. You look at it on tape. I don't know if you guys watched the actual film of the game, but sometimes when you're watching the TV copy, you can't really see when the ball's thrown and where I am, where my head is. And I was still driving and digging, running, trying to win over the top, and then I peak. And, I mean, Stingley couldn't really do anything about it. Doesn't matter who the defender is in certain situations when you execute on offense the right way. So, great ball, and I just had to, kind of hold off late and make sure I got my feet down. But, yeah, Matthew did the brunt of the work there.
How easy or hard is it to time that up with a new quarterback, in your first game with him?
It's not easy at all, but it's something that, just having a little bit of experience with him in OTAs and that, the off-season program, we worked on it a little bit there, and I actually missed a few of them earlier. So to be able to go in the game and still have that trust and confidence in me, and me have the confidence in him that he's going to, see the coverage and throw the right ball, it's a good building block.
Matthew, what do you? You're obviously a veteran. What do you like about Puka's game? What do you see from a guy that's just coming into the league here in the last couple of years?
I mean, he's just got so many different tools. He's got good feet. He's got great hands and the ability to just be tough and run with the ball after the catch. He's really, an extremely well-rounded receiver. Obviously, guys have their strengths, but he can do pretty much anything on the field. You can put him in a slot and you can work him down the field. He'll separate, or he can make a contested catch if a guy's tight on him. So anytime you can just call whatever you want on the call sheet as a coach, it makes your job a little easier. Yeah, I mean, we showed a lot of resiliency. It's never going to be perfect throughout the entire course of the game, but to have multiple, times where we gave them opportunities to come back and still find a way to win, it shows promise, obviously, that we got the right type of team that can, stick in there and make it happen when it counts. And, to see Landman go in there and seal that game the way they did after still kind of getting, a couple penalties and things and able to drive on them, still to stand firm and play it all the way until, there was, until they came off the field. That shows a lot about our team and our defense specifically.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yep.